Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. We are available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Android TV is what I meant to say, and Amazon Fire Television. And of course, you can see us in YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. It's 8 p.m. And we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. This evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but for our LGBTQ plus community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's begin by welcoming anchor Klifton Fehr. Klifton has been an active mental health professional within the South Florida area for over 15 years. He has been working throughout the country with corporate business leaders and businesses for the past 3 years throughout the pandemic to address mental health challenges within the workspace. Currently, Klifton is working on initiatives with empowering the BIPOC gay men within the South Florida area throughout weekly groups, as well as working with the fathers of the Michael Brown Chosen for Change Foundation with intensive group therapy retreats. Mr. Fehr continues to sit on boards of nonprofit organizations throughout the country, as well as providing therapeutic services for their clients and staff alike. Good evening, Klifton.
Good evening, Al. Thank you very much for the introduction. If I might add, we are currently looking to start that next round of groups for the BIPOC gay men across the Tri-County area as of September, the first week in September. So thank you for the introduction. Would also like to take a moment and welcome our anchor, AJ Stone. AJ is a foodie, comedy writer, and social media slut, and the co-founder of the bearslooking.com. He may be big and burly, but don't be fooled. He's a softie and a goody two-shoes. Find him online at Bear with AJ. Good evening, AJ.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's welcome anchor Mitchell Todd. Mitchell can be found online at The Mitchell Todd, and he is a queer activist, video producer, and the co-founder of bearslooking.com. Being a bear is about being yourself. He's on a mission of inclusivity, connecting the community, one glitter sparkle at a time. Good evening, Mitchell.
You two are such a cute couple, by the way.
Well, not to disappoint, we're not a couple, but we are business partners. So,
and best friends.
And best friends.
And very single.
All right.
We're both
Everybody out there watching.
Right.
We're both single.
All right.
Advertising much, girl.
We will cock block you, though.
All right, let's welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He is an associate professor of English and Humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. Good evening, Tai.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to have some fresh faces around the table and one old prune. We are the reporters. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines for Tuesday, August 2nd.
Well, let's begin by queering up politics. A new survey shows LGBTQ plus vote may decide who wins Florida governor's race. A recent poll by GLAAD shows that LGBTQ plus Floridians are more concerned than ever about their rights. 77% of respondents strongly agreed with the statement, quote, basic human rights for women and LGBTQ Floridians are starting to be taken away by elected officials currently in charge of Florida's government, end quote. 67% of respondents were strongly motivated to vote in 2022 because of the issues LGBTQ plus individuals are facing, with 58% showing they were even more motivated to vote than they were in 2020. Remember Donald Trump? GLAAD CEO and President Kate Ellis said of the survey, quote, Florida's LGBTQ voters and ally voters have grave concerns about the basic human rights, including access to abortion, freedom of speech, and evidence-based health care for LGBTQ youth. They're motivated to make a difference in this crucial election, end quote.
This is a crucial time. We have to vote now more than ever. And so I'm not surprised. I think all queer people are super motivated. We saw what happened with Roe versus Wade, and it's completely ridiculous. So we have to get out and vote.
I think with what's being pushed right now, if we don't actually use the rest of the voice that we do have available to us, I mean, those numbers are massing somewhat, just over 1 million, as far as the 22 million, where the LGBTQ community, Q plus community, makes up 4.6% thereabout. So, I mean, we actually have the numbers to make a huge difference in this election. It'd be great to actually see us use that voice once again before it gets taken from us.
But my question is, what's going to get us out? What's going to do it? Is it going to be the Democratic nominee? Is it going to be our desperation for it? Or are we just voter fatigued? Are we just not going to show up?
I think now more than ever, we're realizing that our human rights are at stake. And it's been an eye-opener that if it doesn't happen now, we are going to be stripped of the things that make us who we are.
You know, one of the things that there's good news in this GLAAD report. What it is indicating is that the survey results are saying that LGBT is going to be the issue of the election. This election cycle in Florida, LGBT is going to be the central issue.
Wow.
And that's both in our community and our allies outside of our community. That is really, really good news. It's a glimmer of hope that maybe we're not going to face the catastrophe that 3 or 4 or 5 months ago we thought when Don't Say Gay started that we might face. To Ty's question, I think that that's the real heart of this. Have we taken enough body punches to say, wait, we're getting out there no matter what, we're showing up no matter what? That's the question, I think, still to be decided. But the good news there is they don't need a lot of us. I remind you, the Democrats lost to Gillum in the last cycle for governor by 13,000 votes. And what that brought, the lack of 13,000 votes, is this guy named Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
13,000 votes.
What a mistake.
8.1 million votes. 13,000 is all that was necessary. Brought us Ron DeSantis. Nikki Fried is the only statewide Democratic serving member of the Florida cabinet. 8.1 million votes. And I remind you there, she won by only 4,000 votes. But what did that 4,000 votes bring us? That 4,000 votes brought us in agriculture, but more importantly, most importantly, in consumer affairs and consumer services, a very pro-LGBTQ agenda in Florida, including the first ever appointment of an LGBT activist for consumers in Florida, Nick Harris, and did such a good job, the HRC came in and hired her away. And now we have Nathan Brummer as a trans activist working for Nikki Fried, and has just done amazing things in visibility for LGBT and the trans community. 4,000 votes out of 8.1 million brought that to us. Is this election incredibly important?
It's super important.
It is incredibly
We
important.
all have to get out and mobilize.
Well, I think also with that, you know, we're sitting and having a conversation that maybe some other people aren't having. So like for those people that, for those of us that are having this type of discussion around the dinner table or over a drink, like we need to be knocking on the next door neighbor's door and
Absolutely.
saying, hey, I'm going to be your accountability buddy. Let's do this together. I don't want to stand in line alone. Like that sucks, standing in line waiting to vote. I know what I'm doing it for, but sometimes it'd be nice to just kind of kick the bubble with a friend. So maybe we do something like that. That would sound trite, sound simplistic, but it definitely would help.
It would.
I'm curious, Ty, do you think, to your question, do you think we're going to come out November 8th? You're still pessimistic.
I'm pessimistic.
Yeah.
I'm pessimistic.
Yeah. So Glad's reporting, while I make the note, is optimistic. You're saying basically it's easier to say yes on a poll than to actually
That's exactly where I was going to go.
turn out.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if I get a phone call and they say, are you going to do this? I say, sure, I'll do it. Do I show up on the day? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. One last note before we move on to our next story. I've interviewed in the last week and a half every major candidate running in Florida. Val Demings for U.S. Senate. She's running against this guy. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, yeah, Marco Rubio. What did he do in the last week? He said gay marriage is a stupid waste of time. How can we be any more motivated against a candidate that would say such a thing? I interviewed Nikki Fried. I interviewed Charlie Crist, who is going to be, after the primary at the end of this month, running against Ron DeSantis. All three of them said to me in context that the LGBTQ community is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly important in this election on November 8th. And not for why we think. It's not of the 8.4 or 8.1 million, maybe 8.5 million votes are coming November 8th. It's not the volume, it's the quality. Because if LGBT turns out in Florida, DeSantis is defeated and Marco Rubio is defeated. Because why? They know, all of their polling shows, they're after the 1 to 2% that they hope to win the election by. And where they get it is in LGBT.
It's that tipping point.
It's the tipping point.
So we've got to show up.
Exactly.
We've got to show up.
So Ty sets it up perfectly. I'm pessimistic. And that's what we have to fight every step.
I'm just going to
of the
have
way.
to give them more than the tip.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit more than that. I'm sure Val Demings is just thrilled right now. But glad it's an encouraging story, and we're paying attention to you here in Florida because it is really, really important.
Next up, let's queer up LGBTQ plus civil rights. LGBTQ plus Senator Tammy Baldwin thinks she has 10 Republican votes needed for Respect Your Marriage. The Respect Your Marriage Act would repeal the Clinton-era Defense of Marriage Act and require states to honor marriages performed in other states, even if that marriage is not normally legal in that state. The RMA passed through the House with a surprising 47 Republicans voting to pass it. The Senate still has to vote on the law and likely will delay the vote until September. Democrats need 10 Republican senators to vote on the bill in order to pass it. And out Senator Tammy Baldwin thinks that at least that many will vote with the Democrats. In an interview with PBS Wisconsin, the senator said, open quote, there are 5 Republicans who have publicly stated that they will support the Respect for Marriage Act. And I have spoken with an additional many, but the 5 additional members have indicated that they are leaning in support. But I think because of how crowded the calendar is for next week, which is our last week before the August recess, and in light of the fact that we can't have any absences, we need everybody there, and we have a few members with COVID. This is probably going to be a vote that occurs, what I would hope would be early September.
So in opposition to what I said last time, I'm optimistic about this one. I think that I might be surprised. I'll say, I think we might have more than 10 that vote.
Really?
To do it, yeah.
Go out on a limb. How many votes are coming, do you think?
Not many. Like, look, I'm not going to say like half the Republican Party is going to vote for it, but I think we've got some.
If we got 15 votes, would that be like earth-shattering?
That would be earth-shattering.
Earth-shattering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're hoping for 10. 15 would be earth-shattering
would be
for you. What do y'all think about what's going on in the Senate?
I'm actually hopeful that we actually do get the 10 or 15. One of the things that I realize is that the same-sex households are making up some of the same conversations that they're actually looking to push ahead of this respective agenda or this respective bill, act. And the unfortunate thing would be that if they just took the time and actually focused on this, they would see that some of those same-sex households and marriages would actually benefit everything else that kind of is on the chopping block for this coming up House meeting.
Any other thoughts? Marriage? This is also great news.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Gosh, we're just watching some really great, brilliant strategy going on in the House and in the Senate. We collectively can criticize Pelosi and Schumer, but there's really strategy going on. And I'm not sure that the broad LGBTQ community might understand it in the way of what's happening. They're not going to have the vote this coming week. Tammy Baldwin signals we shouldn't rush this. I know everybody wants it. She's the only LGBT senator in America, but don't rush it. Let's wait for everybody to go home. They're going to be in their districts or in their states, and they're going to have political rallies, and they're going to have fundraising, and they're going to and then they're going to hear from their constituents in their states, and then they're going to come back to Washington. And then one of the first things we're going to do in September when they come back is this. What's going to happen when they go home? These 100 senators go home. Well, 50, it doesn't make any difference. The other 50, where we need 10 to get respect for marriage, are going to hear from an American population in their state. Iowa is a key place. Wisconsin is a key place. Alaska is a key place. Maine is a key place. And others, they're going to go home and they're going to hear what we have reported at Queer News Tonight over and over again. 80% of all Americans favor gay marriage.
Yep.
Why did 47 Republican House members do it? Did they all of a sudden fall into love with the LGBTQ community? No.
No.
Their seats are at risk.
Totally.
And so with making the choice of, I want to be reelected or I've got to give in to Respect for Marriage Act, I'm going to give yes on Respect for Marriage Act, 47. Estimates are 42 of the 47 voted because of the heavy heat that they have in their reelection campaign. These senators, 10 to 15, I'm going to think about you every step of the way until the first week in September, because I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope so.
Earth-shattering.
Yeah.
If we get 15. If we get 10, great, fantastic. We take the win.
Yep.
And if we get 15, it's a grand celebration in America. And why? Because they went home and heard from their own constituents in Alaska, they favor gay marriage. We've moved on. Why are we still talking about this?
Point
is what they're going to hear when they go home, when they recess at the end of next week.
So call your senators.
Call your senators.
Call your senators. Yeah.
And one other thing that I just want to say, and this is going to surprise you, in my opinion, you know who we have to thank for this? The 47 and hopefully the 10, and please God, your mouth to God's ears of 15. You know who the number one person that we have to thank?
Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas. You ass. You shot yourself in your own damn foot. Thank you so much for writing. You know what? Let's talk about sodomy laws and contraception and gay marriage. And states should decide that. By the way, maybe your marriage too, dude.
Yeah.
Right. But he helped propel this because he's elevated gay marriage out of the courts to decide it, to motivate Congress to say, okay, we hear you loud and clear.
Yep.
Let's create law. 47 Republicans said, oh my God, if we have to create law, 42 of the 47 said, the law's got to be for marriage, gay marriage. And maybe, I hope I'm not jinxing it, but thank you, Justice Thomas, because you may have gotten us our 10 in the Senate. And thank you, Senator Tammy Baldwin, from where? Wisconsin.
Yep.
Love it.
I love it
Go
too.
Badgers.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But
What was that? A sports team?
all right, now we're going to talk about some Brandon Straka.
Now we queer up the USA view. Gay Trumpster, hashtag walk away Brandon Straka, facing GOP hate over cooperating with FBI for January 6th plea deal. Happening Out Television Network guest host and founder of the hashtag walk away movement, Brandon Straka, was arrested after the January 6th insurrection and made a plea deal with the FBI. In exchange for information on people involved with the event, Straka received a reduced sentence for his part in the seditious attack on the U.S. Capitol. The entirety of the court documents involving his case were accidentally emailed to the media in a bulk email last week that was only supposed to indicate that Straka had been cooperative with the investigation. Documents show that Straka had given information on leaders of Stop the Steal, as well as other Trump-supporting information to the FBI.
Gays, stop supporting Trump. Just stop supporting Trump. This is not a sign, like, just why are any gay people supporting Trump?
I think it also
Why?
just shows that everybody at the end of the day is out for themselves. You know, you can support something, but if it's not in alignment with what's happening to you personally, if you're under attack, or, you know, you're going to do what you need to do to save your own ass first and foremost.
You know, in full disclosure, I have to pull Tai into the conversation.
Okay.
We hosted in 20 a national town hall, conservative points of view for Trump, and hashtag walk away against liberal and progressives. And Dr. Tai Houser was one of the panelists to debate Brandon Straka here in Fort Lauderdale. We invited them all in. Thoughts about what's happened January 6th?
Well, you know, one of my first impressions of him was kind of his bark is worse than his bite. Like, as long as he has people blowing wind in his sails, he's going to be out there and out front accepting that those accolades. But as soon as that wind goes away, or as soon as that gets challenged at all, I think what he does is he just folds and tucks his tail between his legs and runs home, and which is what he's doing here.
Yeah.
He's not a victim of anything. There's nothing going on. He's just fighting for his own.
Yeah, we do make note that the release of all of these documents was apparently accidental. We accept that the premise that was stated by DOJ is it's accidental. He is very clear that he just thinks it's absolutely terrible, and frankly, it may be. They should not have been released if that was the position of the agreement on the plea deal, etc. So, you know, I have little to say about that other than he says this is terrible, and I just take him at his word. The one thing that I also point out is we have a lot of history here at Queer News Tonight with Brandon Straka.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to restate, because we can't do a story about Brandon Straka, to say what happened. He has participated in our show. We have tried to, when the Trump election was going on, we tried to give the platform for, there are gay conservatives. There is gays for Trump, and presumably there's going to be gays for DeSantis when that comes along for 24. So we did try to do that platform. We ran a story at Queer News Tonight that he participated in the Stop the Steal rally on January 5th and participated in the insurrection of January 6th, which is now a fact. He has done a plea deal accepting he was an insurrectionist. Brandon Straka, we're showing the pictures right there.
Wow, that's him.
Was an insurrectionist. These are at the Capitol doors. He, however, sent me personal texts that we also reported on Queer News Tonight, telling us before this was revealed to retract the story, and if not, he was going to sue us. And we were able to go back in hidden files and find this video.
Good.
And as a result, that's how this all unpeeled, and the process charging for him. The one last thing I want to say about Brandon Straka in this situation is I don't know why he's still doing this. I've just this week gone to his social media. He has quite a huge following in America, GOP and conservative, and a reasonable gay following. I don't understand why he's still doing it. Trump is gone. Maybe Trump's going to come back into the picture. But everything that he has learned and the log cabin Republicans learned and everything that has been learned have all been learned from the inner circle of the Republicans that have testified in January 6th. So why is he still saying all of this? Because he knows really what Donald Trump really was. It's just undeniable. You can still love him. You can still make money off of him. You can still want him to be president again. But we all know what he was. And that's what I don't understand Brandon Straka is still loyal to. Why are you still loyal to all of this? Because you know who and what he is. Why not just go for the money?
Because then it proves he's wrong too. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a bunch of them. It's all of his supporters, and then they're wrong. If they keep going with it, they're just going to go down with the ship. That's really what they're doing. Because if they say, oh, now, well, then it proves that they were wrong. And I don't think they can accept that.
It's like that idea of man convinced against his will is of the same opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't wake them up from that
No,
fantasy.
they would rather go down than admit, oh, I was wrong. I was wrong this whole time. You know, I made a mistake. No, they're going to go until absolutely, I think we see a Trump, get charged. I think they're going to go with it.
Yeah. I don't even know if that would be the breaking point, actually. I think they would still hold fast to their
You think so?
I think so.
I hate to hear that.
One last thought to this concept, which I think is just fascinating, and it rings true to me of what you have said. It rings true to me, is that we're going to likely face this exact same thing in Ron DeSantis. Our governor is going to become Donald Trump on steroids.
Ugh.
He's going to be a smart Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's not going to rattle off at the mouth in ridiculous ways to be banned off of Twitter. He's going to do it very strategically. And the reason I asked the question about Brandon Straka, why he's so loyal to this now, what's his dog in the fight for why he's still doing this? Because I do know a dog in the fight is coming. And it's going to be Ron DeSantis. And people like Brandon Straka and others are going to come to this position and start all over again.
Yeah, to attach to another extreme candidate.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand. One last thought, just quick, is while I disagree personally, not from the show standpoint, we're a news show, but personally I disagree with this entire process on him. He has still the right to say it. I just am really clear on this. When we talk about Brandon Straka, I get huge criticism in our community. You're giving him a platform, and no, he's got the platform already. We're reporting on what's happening, which I think is an important distinguishing moment. But he does have the right to say it, even if he's completely wrong, and even if I really hate what he's saying, he has the right to do it. I pose the question, I don't understand why he's doing it. But not that he can't do it.
Well, it's getting him in trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, let's clear up trans rights. D-Day is here as Florida Medical Board is deciding to ban doctors from performing trans medical treatments on Friday. On Friday, the Florida Board of Medicine is scheduled to consider a proposal by the DeSantis administration to ban gender-affirming care for transgender youth. A petition to consider the issue was filed by the State Department of Health last week, and as the Agency for Healthcare Administration is moving to ban medical coverage for transgender care for low-income individuals of any age. Much of this policy comes from the urging of DeSantis-appointed Surgeon General of Florida, Joseph Ladapo. Ladapo is affiliated with America's Frontline Doctors, a far-right group that has been known for pushing false information about the pandemic, including the use of hydrochloroquine and ivermectin for treating COVID-19 and opposition of vaccines. Ladapo opposes transgendered care and has fought to restrict name changes and pronoun changes for trans youth in the state.
The ripple effect of this is scary. When you look at how many people were already impacted by the silencing of who they are, now you have medical professionals that are going to be charged with not not being allowed to provide care for these kids who are actually supported and loved by their parents, and want to diminish some of those challenges that they're running into both in and out of school.
There was also part of this story. There was a group of professors from Yale, University of Alabama, Birmingham, I think, and one other university, and they all came out and said, "This is ludicrous. This is not healthy. What you're thinking about doing."
Yeah.
Well, it's completely ludicrous because changing your name is one thing, right? Having gender affirmation surgery is so important to a trans person. So if you don't even have the right to change your name to be able to express like who you are, even that one little baby step, and then now your complete right to become the person who you truly are is completely ridiculous. This is a human's rights, it's complete stripping of any rights for any people. Trans people are people.
I'm curious. There are people in our community, in LGBTQ plus community. I keep with the acronym, but specifically in the trans community. Why is this? And I'm making an assumption. Correct me if my assumption is wrong. Friday, August 5th, is we have it in our headline. It's D-Day for the trans community in Florida. Why is this not a bigger story in our own community? Why is this Friday and what's going on for the trans community not an, oh my goodness, this is an all-stop moment for trans people in Florida?
Probably because there's not enough representation. We don't have
and
trans activists talking.
And my question though is very specific about why is, and especially I frequently bundle it into this white gay men.
I know.
Why are the gay men broadly and the white gay men just not up in arms over this? What's going on and why we're not responding?
I think the trans community, even in our community, is still so much of a minority and underrepresented. So many of them, the ones that I know personally, they're just trying to survive day to day.
But we need to take it more seriously.
Of course.
As like gay white men, we're going to have to speak up. You know what I mean? We have to do something different. We have to go out there and speak for these trans people. We have to.
Well, and let's not forget that this is all part of DeSantis's bigger strategy, which is to fragment us and pull us apart from each other. Yeah. And so he's picking off the low-hanging fruit, as it were. This is something easy to go for because I think, to Al's point, this is something that we most of the time just stand back from and don't really get upset about.
Well, and our community is full of inter-community hate. I mean, lots of communities are, but we're going to have to figure this out. And we have to start doing something now. But it is D-Day on Friday, and we're just now knowing, a lot of us are just finding this out.
Yeah. Do you think DeSantis's war plan, let's stay in the D-Day metaphor, is working?
I think this is his clear strategy, and I think it's probably working better than I want it to.
He's really we think he's that smart. We're going to give him that credit?
It might not be him, but definitely the people pulling the strings.
Really?
He's the representation of it. I said, I talked about Nikki Fried and appointment and statewide office of the first LGBT liaison, which was Nick Harris, who's now at HRC, and Nathan Brummer. Nathan Brunner is a trans man. I had dinner with him last week, and Nathan Brummer basically says this August 5th date is aimed at children in Florida. That's what they're going after, but that's not really what they want. What they really want is to convince all doctors that would be trans supporting doctors to get out of the business of being supportive of trans. It's the same kind of strategy as we have seen on abortion rights, and get all kinds of medical professionals out of the field, and therefore you minimize the ability to offer abortion rights for women.
It's the same thing as don't say gay. You take the power away from the teachers to talk about it.
Well, and the scary thing about that is just like with abortion, kids want to explore, they want to be experimentative. We're going to see people who might try and do some things to their bodies themselves without the correct care, the correct guidance. And what then? Are they not going to be allowed any kind of treatment to help them? You know, they're going to take measures.
Well, because then regular doctors will also be held liable, I'm guessing, as well. They won't even, like, what about your pediatrician? Oh, we can't discuss, your son's having thoughts of, being another gender. Oh, we can't even talk to you about that because we'll be criminalized. We'll go to jail. I mean, this is just going to get really confusing again, just like it has with Roe v. Wade, where people can't use contraceptives, or they have miscarriages that they can't remove because of the law and how complicated it is. I just think it's a joke.
We're putting a lot of pressure on policing these words and people's feelings, their identification of who they are here rather than who they are here, how they present. And the unfortunate part is that we're losing touch with them. So we're losing touch with them. The parents will have no place to go but to another, I'd say, mental health professional, or possibly go get a psychiatrist to write a script to help them just suffer through some of the symptoms that they're experiencing while watching their children go through.
Where's their voice?
You're right, absolutely. Where's the voice?
You know, a quick final thought on what we're going to see this week and what's going to come from it. When I had dinner with Nathan Brummer, now he is the LGBTQ liaison for the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services for Nikki Fried. He is talking about what the intent here is and what's going to happen to people in Florida, which is his representation, and specifically for LGBT, as being hired by Nikki Fried to do this job. And it was an aha moment for me as I'm sitting at dinner and he's talking about what the goal and the intent of the governor is here against trans, but more importantly than the children is aimed at the doctors and the healthcare providers. And then he moves it to go, and that's when he's going to get me. And Nathan Brummer explains, as a trans man, testosterone therapy is incredibly important. Hormone therapy is incredibly important. And where do I find the doctor that continues my testosterone therapy that I'm going to need for my entire life when they withdraw out of the space, making the comparison again to abortion providing or teachers in schools? And I realized, wait, Nathan Brummer, who's the first ever LGBT liaison appointed by a statewide cabinet secretary in Florida, commissioner in Florida, may not be able to have testosterone therapy because the governor's insidious plan has been so good.
Well, and it's like what Ty mentioned earlier, it's just whittling away at our community to weaken us. And then what?
One final note, and we're going to Ty's going to take us someplace else, but we've already discussed tonight the decision about DeSantis being able to do it, and the decision of Nathan Brummer being able to be the LGBTQ liaison for the Secretary of Agriculture, Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. The governor's seat was decided by 14,000 votes out of 8.1 million. And Nathan Brummer was decided by 4,000 votes out of 8.1 million. So we go back to this question: what could possibly be more important to us in Florida
than
got to vote?
Getting out the vote.
We've got to vote.
Friday is D-Day for our trans community.
All right. Well, moving on tonight, we're going to queer up the worldview. Pelosi challenged to Singapore businesses to support LGBTQ+ groups. A congressional delegation led by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi is currently on a tour of Southeast Asia discussing human rights issues as well as diplomatic issues. Her first 2 days were spent in Singapore, where the country is debating striking down their anti-sodomy laws. With more than 5,500 U.S. companies already having offices in the country, Pelosi has asked that the businesses there help support reforms to protect LGBTQ+ individuals and their rights. Go get them, Nancy.
It's very strategic. And the first question, obviously, is: do we care about LGBT rights in Singapore? Is
Absolutely.
It important? What? Well, if we do you? My question broader: does the LGBTQ community in America care about LGBT rights in Singapore?
I think the short answer is no. I think the answer should be yes. I mean, LGBTQ rights around the world should be on everyone's radar because we're all not equal until everyone's equal, right? If we're doing a bunch of business in Singapore, and Singapore is this big ally, yada, 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 then why are they not giving everyone basic human rights that we give in our country? If our companies are going over there to help their people, then they need to start treating their people fairly. We've got the Russian war going on. We pulled all those companies out of Russia because we're not going to support people. We're not going to support a war. So how can we continue to support these other countries where we do business if they don't treat people fairly? And it goes back to even the U.S. I want to see some companies pull out of the U.S. because we're not treating women right. You know, when is that going to start happening? Oh, you won't have women have abortions or right access to their own bodies. Why aren't they pulling out of our own country?
That would be an eye opener.
Let's hold each other accountable. I think it's great. I think it's a great way to hold the other country, you know, hold Singapore specifically accountable, because we're all in this together.
If that's the case, then I invite Nancy to come down to South Florida.
Right.
With the trans community.
Right. And the black community.
Listen, please come back to the States as well.
There are a lot of...
I say that not to take away from the importance of what she's doing there.
True.
I say that if she can get some attention there and actually kind of bring some notoriety or some eyes to what's going on there, I would hope that we can do something here for our own. She's actually traveling abroad to do something.
You know, one of the things I want to make a connection on and get reaction from is 2016 to 2020. I don't know if you know this, but we had the most gay supportive president in history from 2016 to 2020, because he told us it over and over and over again that he was.
It's great.
Yeah, it was great. And what came after that is Joe Biden, who has done more for LGBT than any person in American history. And now, just as an anecdotal example, we see the Speaker of the House go on a foreign trip that's very controversial because of Taiwan. She's in Taiwan today. Make a point of challenging 5,500 American companies to stand in support of supporting LGBT in Singapore, coming from the Speaker of the House in Singapore. Isn't it? It really is amazing.
It is.
It? That
night and day.
That it's a night and day.
It speaks volumes of a united front, definitely in the White House. And it's nice to actually see that trickle down effect. I'm hoping that she can actually keep that campaign going. It seems like it's making an impact, at least it's involved in our conversation today.
Yeah. That's right. Well, it's a very interesting story.
Next, we are proud of our special sponsorship with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm John Buckley from Unity Coalition and Celebrate Orgullo, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Klifton Fehr, AJ Stone, Dr. Tai Houser, and Mitchell Todd. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
Good night.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBT